Welcome to the broadcast, my dear fruits, and a very happy Thanksgiving to those of you abroad who are celebrating Thanksgiving. We give thanks for your fruity presence here today. I hope you're enjoying your turkey, or tofu turkey, whatever it is that takes your fancy. Blackpink caused a sensation and were a credit to their nation, it has to be said, for behaving with grace and humility in the presence of their majesties, with the king quite evidently taken in charm by the captivating presence of Rosé, Jennie, Jisoo and Lisa, collectively Blackpink, the biggest girl band since Spice Girls or Bananarama, I don't know, some such thing. Well, they were honoured in an investiture at Buckingham Palace as MBEs, honorary members of the Order of the British Empire, in recognition of the band's role as climate change advocates and ambassadors, most controversial, having been appointed for this mission in 2021 by the United Kingdom government. And Rosé's honour was actually a full honour, not just honorary, because she is a Commonwealth citizen with dual New Zealand citizenship. And I did want to mention them first of all because their behaviour was impeccable, the respect they had for their majesties was impeccable, and they were a credit to their nation, to be quite honest with you. And not only that, not only were they gracious, considering what divas, pop stars or duchesses can be like, there was none of that, there was humility, but also I fell in love with one of the gowns. Can you guess which? Lisa, who was wearing that fantasy, wasn't she? That confection. I think it was just the combination of the colourways, that minty tone on her skin tone. That was beautiful, and the whimsical design of it. Oh, it gave me Cinderella fantasies. I don't know what it was, my dear. And the wonderful way that the beaded tulle moved with that sparkly clutch in hand. It gave me the full Elsa fantasy, if you will, together with the cape. When a look comes together, I really appreciate it. Although I was a bit undecided on the platform she was wearing with it. I mean, it gives it a quirky sort of modern edge, so in that way it's fine. Personally, I would have gone for glass slippers, my dear. But I did enjoy it very much. I loved that she was feeling her fantasy as well in this rapture at Buckingham Palace. It was designed, of course, by Georges, her baker. And there was a very sweet moment when all of Blackpink were mentioned during the King's speech, which was well received. He does plod on a bit, though, in those speeches. I know some of you won't like it, but he does sound a bit tired as he's reading them off, and he needs to infuse and inject a bit more energy while remaining magisterial. And the trouble, you see, with remaining magisterial is that when you crack a joke, as he does, and he comes out with a few one-liners here and there, they're delivered so slowly that they don't come off the page. You've got to take it off the page so that it appears spontaneous, and then you get more of a laugh. But some of his jokes fell a little bit flat because they were delivered as if he was reading them. So, there's a fine line of fine balance, you've got to get it. Got it? Good. Now that His Majesty's first state visit is over, isn't it ingenious and gracious to reflect upon how the senior royals conjured a sense of real drama in a state visit that was imbued with theatrics, not the cheap sort of artificial theatrics, but tasteful elements of theatre. Of course, as I foreshadowed the week before by wearing red in honour of the Republic of Korea, that was the colour that was harnessed by Catherine, and she was encouraged to dazzle at the matinee welcome, if you will, the younger siren, the young princess, being allowed to take the limelight with no resentment from the Queen. Together they work, you see, and together they were in red and blue, the exact colours of the Taeguk symbol, the Confucian representation of cosmic balance. And of course those colours appear on the flag for South Korea. Now, as for Catherine's gorgeous moment of leg flashing that we discussed in the last broadcast, it didn't come without controversy. And actually some of you were very vocal about it in the comments, that you didn't approve of so much flesh being flashed. And it wasn't so much when she was stationary, of course, it was when she was getting in and out of cars and it sort of rode up to reveal much of her thigh. Now, of course, we've seen a lot of flesh being flashed before, for example, with the late Diana, Princess of Wales. But to my knowledge, not so much during state visits. So I completely and utterly get it if some of you are disappointed, if this seems rather unprecedented. I understand if you are disappointed at this break in protocol, because I'm a bit fusty about that kind of thing, aren't I? And I'm rather old-fashioned. All I can do is tell you, my dear, that sometimes you have an instinctive reaction, and mine was, go girl. It was, oh yes, just that wonderful flash, like a matador, that blood-red flash of scarlet with the milky white legs looking absolutely devastating. I'm sorry, my dear, but I had to just surrender to the moment and let it speak to me. You know, rules are rules, and I have every respect for rules, but sometimes they are made to be broken, aren't they, my dear? That's the delinquent in me. And as I've said before or many times, it ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. And she does it with aplomb. And also it's worth bearing in mind that even though the late Queen Elizabeth wasn't prancing around flashing her thighs as a young princess, people do often forget just how, well, I'm going to say racy, but I understand that it was still extremely dignified and nothing at all vulgar, but the very glamorous outfits that she wore with Margaret Rose back in the day, and I wish they were still allowed to bring out those old vintage furs that they used to wear. Many of those looks and gowns involved a lot of flesh displayed from the upper body. They would use wraps and stoles and this kind of thing, but a lot of flesh, a lot of shoulder. And although there was no deep cleavage moments, it wasn't what you'd call modest by the standards of the generations before, the Victorian standards, for example. So I appreciated that high-octane moment, even if it was just for a few seconds, that gets the heartbeat going. And Catherine is setting a new tone, and the fact is that she is just ravishingly photogenic, isn't she? Ravishingly photogenic. But as evening fell, it was going to be Her Majesty's turn to thrill as the lady in red. The kitchens put the final touches to thoughtful and tantalising dishes to be served at the banquet. And just as the late Queen Elizabeth used to do, King Charles and Queen Camilla cast a beady eye over the spread, inspecting for any final touches that need be made. 300 dinner plates, 2,000 pieces of cutlery, and I'd certainly be tempted to smuggle a few pieces out, wouldn't you, my dear? Even though it's out with the old and in with the new, as the old ER cipher was scrubbed off, all of the crockery and all of the glassware, and they appeared with a new cipher belonging to the king. These centerpieces that were crafted out of sugar represent the Hibiscus syriacus, the national flower of the Republic of Korea, and were presented alongside petit four. Aren't they delicate or whimsical? Even the salt cellars were a luxurious and lavish affair. And it was heartwarming to see an array of tiaras, wasn't it? Glistening and glittering so softly in that palace lighting. Beautiful. There were special treats in store and surprises, and the whole thing was reassuringly royal. His very dear Majesty continues to look like Dracula or Grandpa Munster whenever he's done up for state occasions, but the Queen was a wraith in ruby red. Now don't tell me that she doesn't look every inch a queen. Absolutely gobsmacking, with the Burmese ruby, a firecracker halo on her head, matched with a floor-length red velvet gown. And I was thrilled to see the Burmese ruby. It looked very good on her, together with matching jewellery, and the one around her throat reminded me of my hot jam necklace, my lovely jammy tart necklace, don't you think? The Burmese ruby was commissioned in 1973 by the late Elizabeth and crafted using 96 rubies, which were a wedding gift from the people of Burma. That's very kind of them, wasn't it? I would love to see more colours and more stones. I would love to see amethyst and topaz, fiery oranges. You know, sometimes I think they are a little bit too conservative with jewels, and I would like to see a dazzling array throughout the next few years of the Carol Ian age. That sounded like Carol and Ian. And to be quite honest with you, I was relieved that she wasn't wearing the Greville. I've taken a real dislike to the Greville. I realise it's a thing of beauty close up, and of course based on a kind of honeycomb design, so inspired by nature, which I love. But there's just something about that Greville that reminds me of a cage plonked on the head, and I don't find it becoming, but most people do love it. It's just not really for me. I prefer these little speciality types. The rubies and diamonds were set in a series of rose motifs inspired by the heraldic symbol of Britain, the Tudor rose. Her jam-tart necklace was matched by pendant clip-ons. I thought that was a very successful look for Queen Camilla. And then, of course, followed Catherine in a Jenny Packham gown that reminded me a little bit of a curtain pelmet, I'm afraid. But it was beautiful, and I do love the gold embellishments at the side of the pelmet. And, of course, she debuted the Strathmore Rose for the first time in many years, the 100-year-old tiara that can also be worn as a bandeau, as it was originally 100 years ago, when it was another wedding gift to the Duchess of York, as she was later the Queen Mum, from her parents, the Strathmores. And it's very pretty, isn't it? Very pretty, almost mythic, because it's so rarely seen. And there are 5 roses with diamond sprays forming separate brooches. And it was originally produced with 2 separate frames to wear it the 2 different ways. The Princess Royal was understated but very regal in her diamond festoon. The Duchess of Edinburgh was gorgeous, as usual, as was Johnny there, and we were treated to a glimpse of red on his socks this time. All in all, it was a splendid evening, wasn't it, and a wonderful visit. And just this morning, their Majesties gathered together to wave off the President and the First Lady as they went on their merry way. Goodbye, my dears, goodbye. Bon voyage. Come back again soon. Bring some jewels. And speaking of Johnny Thompson, we know that he looks rather a lot like William, and especially when William was wearing one of his hats, one of his army hats or berets or whatever they are, and he was doing that this morning and looking exceptionally handsome. The Prince of Wales, as Colonel-in-Chief of the 1st Battalion, the Mercian Regiment, visited that regiment for the first time at Salisbury Plain, and he arrived by tank, a warrior armoured fighting vehicle. Like Action Man he is, isn't he? And he took part in attack exercises. And remember, as Prince Harry himself told us, on a couple of occasions, Prince William would have dearly loved to have fought on the front line and get much more actively involved in the armed forces. But it wasn't to be. You know, one has to be realistic about protecting one of our precious assets. He puts himself in danger all the time, as it is, but putting himself in that much danger for an extended period of time would not have been a wise move. So unfortunately, that was denied to him. But nobility is certainly in his heart and his constitution, and I feel that that was noticed by Stephen Bartlett. Do you remember? They got together a few weeks ago and spent a day together with Stephen Bartlett there in his capacity as an ambassador for Homewards, Prince William's Homewards, homeless charity enterprise and the Royal Foundation. And another video came out, I think it was only yesterday, on Stephen Bartlett's other channel, Behind the Diary, because he's got Diary of a CEO and then Behind the Diary. And this video popped up with him spending time with Prince William, and it's quite interesting to look behind the scenes. And I have to say, very impressed with Stephen Bartlett, successful man, and so respectful.
The minute I land, I'm being picked up to meet Prince William.
Kept referring again and again, in a quite unnecessary way, but a really, really lovely way, of His Royal Highness. He need only say it once, really, if he wanted to follow protocol, but he kept calling him His Royal Highness. And I just really respect that, because you don't see it that much in younger generations, apart from those of us that, you know, follow these kind of things a little bit more religiously. But he did. I really appreciated it.
Just meeting you, Your Highness. Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down today.
Oh, thank you for having us.
And he spoke so highly of William.
It's incredible that what you're doing for him.
Well, that's what I was asking about. Where's the culture set? Like, is this something that you set from the top when it was founded, or is this something that lots of employees want and it's driven from? You know?
He was very impressed with William, and William was impressed with him.
You being a homeless advocate, I really appreciate it.
Oh no, it's
you've got a bit of lived experience of all the things we're trying to do, so you get the whole message and the whole plan.
100%, and all of these things inspire me in such a profound way.
And it was just nice to see William. Oh, he's so handsome. He really is. Nice to see his passion. He's so attractive with that wonderful, magnificent height of his as well, and that broad, sculpted physique. Gorgeous. And I've always said that I don't like linen, don't I? Because it creases all up and everything. Well, I guess I just don't like linen on me. I can't get away with it, my dears. I just look all scraggy if I try wearing linen. But as for Prince William, gorgeous, even with a few creases in it as well. And the colour was very nice, wasn't it? That sort of light dusky blue-grey affair. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So I wasn't really listening to what they were saying, my dear. I couldn't care less. But they looked good.
Wonderful day with His Royal Highness. An incredible individual, very kind. He has a remarkable way of making everybody feel important. And it was also wonderful to hear how passionate he is about Homewards. It's really, actually, I come away from today really inspired.
Queen Camilla's barely getting any time to put her feet up for 20 seconds, have a quick fag, and run a bubble bath, is she? No, she was out hosting another reception at Clarence House, this time for the Booker Prize Foundation, meeting with authors who have been shortlisted for the prize. Spare by Prince Harry did not make the cut, or the shortlist, I can tell you. But it might have triumphed for most devious fiction of the year, but that wasn't in the running this time. Sorry, Harold. Her Majesty's Royal Blue Number won admiration from all quarters. Prince Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, has been up to all kinds of tricks, my dear, and as you know, he's been in Australia. That's why he was absent from the state dinner. He was celebrating 41 participants this week from 18 public schools across New South Wales who recently completed their Gold Award down under in our beloved Australia. And he took time to visit Police Citizens Youth Club in Sydney, where he met more participants in a pilot scheme at Manus Correctional Centre, ensuring that the award framework is accessible to all young Australians who are seeking to explore their purpose, passion and place in the world. What an unsung hero our steady Eddie is. Wouldn't Prince Philip be proud? He surely would. And on the other side of the planet, his dear wife, the Duchess of Edinburgh, was at the Royal Society, joining the President of the Republic of South Korea for a discussion on strengthening the role of basic science in advancing humanity. How interesting. Attended by notable scientific minds from both nations. Ooh. And here's our Dickie Gloucester, yes, he's out and about, accompanying the South Korean guests as they laid a wreath at the Korean War Memorial in London. The memorial honours the 81,000 individuals who served in the Korean War, 70 years on since the truce was signed. Service, gratitude, dignity. Always dignity. Their Majesties have triumphed. That couldn't have gone better. Headlines all over the place, social media abuzz, a little appearance from Catherine and her pins, rubies, tiaras, the Strathmore, the Burmese ruby, little points of interest, Blackpink, and everybody in raptures, and in an atmosphere of respect. So gorgeous to see, and we all know who would be very proud at this moment in time, don't we? Her upstairs, my dears, her upstairs. She will be looking down extremely proud at her little boy. Little Bonnie Prince Charlie, now a king and majesty of this kingdom. Supported royally by Queen Camilla. Doing us so proud. It warms the cockles of one's heart, doesn't it, my dear Fruit Crumbles? It truly does. And you warm mine. So I give thanks for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next broadcast. Thanks for dropping by, my dears. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about the gowns and the jewels and the Blackpinks. Do let me know. And my tip jar is in the description box. Thank you, my dears. See you next time, and toodle pip.